Okay, I'm your grandmother, and I'm going to give you some advice. Don't take any wooden nickels. It means don't get involved with jackasses.
Hey, and welcome back to Don't Take Any Wooden Nickels. It's Gina Ferraro on December 17th, the day after my birthday. And we are in Sagittarius season. Yes. Had a blast for my birthday weekend. I called it my birthday weekend because it fell on a Monday. So what the hell? Saturday night, we did a holiday pub crawl with the girls. And then Sunday, I did family dinner, presents, and my favorite. Everybody's got their favorite birthday cake, right? Mine is angel food cake. I gotta have it with strawberries and whipped cream. It is the best. Angel food cake is where it's at. Today, I woke up. I had breakfast and coffee with my dad for my birthday morning, which was fantastic. Don't always get to do that, right? And now I might, later tonight have dinner with some friends. And yeah, it's going to be pretty chill. But I thought, why not bring my dad on as a special guest today for my post-birthday podcast? And we'll talk a little bit about some memories, get his perspective. I had my mom on a few episodes ago, but now it's Dad's turn. But first, I wanted to talk just briefly about last week's podcast. If you didn't get a chance to listen to it, you can. It is called something like, have you ever broken up with someone via text message and then blocked them? And the whole podcast was about sort of delving into what type of a person would send a breakup text and then block you. I just found a bunch of articles and different studies, things that college professors have said, psychologists have said. And there was one particular article that I found, which is really interesting, about someone that has to always get the last word. And by them blocking you, they are essentially getting the last word. So this article defined that type of a person with the 4 C's. And these are the 4 qualities that they're demonstrating by being someone that has to get the last word. And the first one is closure. Second one is control. Third is conceitedness, and 4 is compulsion. So someone would have to have those qualities to be able to even, do that type of a thing where they have to get the last word and they have to block you and not give you the respect of a response, right? So one of my podcast listeners, Kristen, she was so sweet. She messaged me and said, you're the 4 C's too. And I said, "Oop, how?" And she goes, confident, cool, charismatic, and classic. Hey, I didn't say it. Kristen said it. Had to repeat it because it was super cute. And if you ever have something you want to share with me, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Gina Lola. I love hearing back from you after you listen to a podcast. Okay, so the person that did that to me, broke up with me via text, listened to the podcast. Now, this is so funny to me because, remember, they blocked me right after sending the breakup text, so I couldn't respond, essentially, right? But they somehow managed to get wind of the fact that I posted a podcast, which is so funny to me because if you care about someone so little to send them a breakup text, then block them, but still listen to the podcast, well, I guess you did kind of care. It's just, you know what? The fabric of society is very complex, isn't it? That being said, after they listened to my podcast last week, called and left me a voicemail, a 2-minute long voicemail, in fact, going on and on about how they have no idea how I got blocked. And I just had to mention that in today's podcast to please find me on Instagram at Gina Lola, send me a DM, and tell me if you think that's at all possible to block someone on your phone, like in contact. Not like Instagram, not Facebook, a contact in your phone. It is not that easy to do that you could accidentally block someone. All right. It's so funny. Someone would claim they have no idea how I got blocked as a contact. I'm just thinking it's kind of comical that you would call to leave a 2-minute voicemail to try to defend yourself against something that I know you had to have done. There's no way you accidentally block someone. I mean, you have to go into the contact, hit edit, scroll to the bottom, click block user, and then I think it might even come up and say, are you sure you want to block them? Yes or no? That's not an accident. Okay, so I'm not buying it. But I got a lot of great responses from that podcast. You know, people that just got them thinking about the new generations that didn't experience life without text messaging, that, hey, they might certainly think it is okay to text a breakup to someone because they didn't know a different way of life. Now, I did talk to a kid at the gym where I work out, and he's 16, and he said he would never break up with someone via text. And I only asked him because of his age, because I wanted that perspective from a younger generation. So there is hope. There is hope. And now let's get back to my special guest, Dad. Here we go.
What do you want me to say? What are we saying? Gotta go.
No. Dad, this is my podcast. And it's my birthday edition of my podcast. So I want you to tell a story that best describes your daughter. Just a story that you remember, like a fond memory of me.
A fond memory of you.
Yeah.
I would say right from the beginning, when you were being born.
At home.
Yeah, at home, which was a god dang accident. Scared us all to death, but...
Which was kind of your fault because you fell asleep.
Well, it was 4 a.m. Aren't you supposed to be asleep at 4 a.m? Anyway, yeah, we had it at home. We did have a midwife. We had your birth.
Oh, I thought you meant it was like, yeah, we had it was you.
No, we had the home birth.
And you had a crowd there.
Yeah, there was a lot of spectators.
That's weird.
No, this was 1980. It was coming out of the 70s. You know, it was all that hippie love, Dove, peace, beads, you know, acid music, cool, blue jeans, bell bottoms, desert boots, and live and let live. It was all stupid. And that's who's running our country today. But anyway, you pop out, and the umbilical cord is wrapped around your neck 3 times. And you are not moving, not doing anything. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't think this is normal. I don't think that this is quite right. So the midwife unwrapped the umbilical cord from around your neck, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't see any movement yet. I don't see anything. It was like 30 seconds went by. At least it seemed like it, which 30 seconds in that kind of situation is like 3 hours. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you erupted into a screaming cry. And here we are 39 years later, and that hasn't stopped. Oh. And that is my first recollected memory of what I had coming with my daughter, Gina Marie. Because once the screaming started, about 30 seconds after coming down the birth canal, it's been 39 years of her kicking my ass. That's my story.
I want one more.
Another story?
Yeah.
How about the time I hit you in the face with a snowball?
Sure.
And you fell flat on the ground crying, and you were out there raising hell.
No, tell the actual story.
You were causing trouble. The first story covers the second story because, like I said, you came out screaming, and you screamed.
I was like 8 years old.
Right, you're screaming right now. You're proving my point. Yeah, you were like 8, and you were out there causing trouble, and things weren't going your way, and you went running, and you were way, way away, running at top speed, and you took a left turn, and I said, I think I can get this, and I balled up a snowball as you were running, and when you took that turn, it was like a post pattern to the left corner of the end zone, and I reeled back, and I heaved that snowball, and just as you turned, you looked back over your shoulder and you said, I'm telling Mom! Bam! And that snowball hit you flush in the face. And you fell flat to the ground in about 4 inches of snow. And I laughed and laughed, and I went over and picked you up, and I'm like, oh, honey, it's all right. And you were bawling. And I'm like, reference back to the first story, I rest my case.
I still remember turning over my left shoulder to give you the last, like, what for?
That's
to get
right.
To get that last word in.
Uh-huh.
And the snowball met my face, square in my face. And I remember it hurt so bad.
It did.
And, you know, when we were kids, we were all decked out in our snow gear, playing in the backyard. And so I didn't have any skin showing except for that little hole of my face, which is exactly where the snowball landed.
Arguably the best throw I've ever had in my life, and it was hilarious. It served her right.
And you weren't even a quarterback.
No, I was a defensive guy, but that shut her up for about, we might have got an hour apiece out of that.
I dropped to my knees.
Yep, bawling like a baby.
I couldn't believe you would do that to
me. I could believe it, and I thought it was quite apropos.
So that was when I was like 8 or 9. Tell me a story went later, like in my teens.
Well, how about the time you wrecked the car?
Oh, yeah.
Her and her brother, that was a 1988 Chrysler New Yorker, which was a really great car. We were at the fair, Auglaize County Fair, and they were gone for way longer than they should have been. And I'm like, where the hell are the kids? And I don't think it was that day that the truth came out, was it?
Well, we got to the fair, and Jimmy and I were trying to act like...
I think he ratted on you.
No, here's what happened.
Okay.
Mom had to run out to the car. You know, we slammed into a cornfield.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, because they were doing like literally 90 miles an hour, and they hit a newly gravel paved road. You know, where you have asphalt, and then the county will come through every now and then to lay down fresh hot tar and then put gravel over the top of it so it strengthens it for another year. Well, they had just put fresh gravel, and she hit that at 90 miles an hour and starts doing cartwheels with the car and flips out into the field.
Well, we didn't flip. We spun out.
Right, you spun out, right, yeah, and through, dodging telephone poles and...
The beans or the corn, whatever, all got lodged in the
wheel wells.
Wheel well, yeah,
and on the rims. It was
under the rims.
And they it's smart as they go to a car wash and pool about whatever money or stole it out of the ashtray more than likely, and do a car wash. Tried to get all of it. And her mother was having none of it. She's like, I don't know what the kids did, but the car's a disaster.
Well, she saw underneath the rims of the car, she saw, corn cobs shooting out. And we didn't think to clean that out. We showed pigs at the fair. She comes back into the hog barn. The look on her face, I'm like, how the hell does she know? And she was like, what happened to my car? And I looked at Jimmy and I'm like, he's not going to lie for me.
He spilled.
Mom, she did it.
So I don't remember the repercussions out of that, but they were lucky to not get hurt.
Yeah, because we went back to that where we had spun out. We had shot off the left side of the road, and the right side of the road, there was a telephone pole right there. So yeah, we were lucky that day. I'm pretty sure you guys didn't let me drive the car for the rest of the summer.
Oh, I'm sure you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got some kind of grounding out of it. It's like I said, it's been 39 years of one thing after another.
And why don't you share your rule for me when I was growing up about dating?
Well, she was absolutely not going to date, period. I don't care how many fits she threw, how long-faced crocodile tears, of which I got all of that multiple times. Dad, please, all my friends. I said, I don't care. The rule was she wasn't dating until she was 16, period. End of story. And it was non-negotiable. I wouldn't even entertain the conversation. And she tried, every week. From like 13 on. I would just have none of it. And she didn't. And then I made a point that she had to bring her suitors to the house to meet me.
He said, if they pull up in the driveway and they have
their horn,
the audacity to honk their horn, you will not be going on that date. I don't care if they come in and apologize. So I would tell them, whatever you do, be sure you come and knock on the door. You have to meet my parents before I'm allowed to leave.
That's exactly right. I wouldn't tolerate beeping the horn and, hey, come out here. And the other thing, which she never knew this, I watched from the house when they left. And if he tore out and spun wheels, I would have been on his ass in my pickup truck. I would have chased them down, and I would have got, first time he stopped, I would have raced up, pulled her out of the car. And if you're going to drive like that in front of me, How are you going to drive when I'm not around? You ain't going anywhere. And none of them ever did that, which she was lucky.
They were lucky.
Yeah, I used to clean guns on the kitchen table when they would come in. I'd have a pistol, 45, or I'd have a rifle or a shotgun. I'd be cleaning it, and then I'd put it together and slam it down on the table and say, hello, young man, what's your name? Just to make a point. My uncle taught me years before. Years and years, I think even before I had kids.
Uncle Tom?
Uncle Tom. And he said to me, you know, when you're the father of teenage girls, you have to cast as long a shadow as possible. Don't ever forget that, James. And then I ended up with a daughter, and I thought that was good advice, and I sure used it.
A guy that I dated in high school, we're still really good friends to this day. And he still tells the story of the day he walked into our kitchen when we were sophomores in high school, and you were cleaning a rifle. And he said he's never been more scared in his life. And he's a big guy.
Yeah.
What's funny now is that he's like a weapon and fight trainer on Hollywood films now. So he's kind of a badass. So, you know, you might have instilled something in him.
I liked him, though. He was a good kid.
Yeah, he is. Well, we're great friends.
And he turned out to be a wonderful man. So
yeah.
There was a couple that I watched pretty carefully, but I won't mention any names because it's a long time ago. Most of them were really good guys. They were respectful and tried to have a conversation, which I respected that. When you're 17, it's hard to engage somebody. You don't know what the hell to expect. But I did try to put the fear of dad in them. And I was unabashedly and unashamed about it. I thought it was my responsibility to protect her.
Looking back, I mean, at the time I was like, God, Dad, can't you just leave me alone? This is so embarrassing, you know, at the time. But I look back now, and even girlfriends that I have to this day that don't have a relationship with their dad, I'm like, wait, your dad didn't clean guns when you had boyfriends come over? That wasn't like what every dad did? And they were like, no. And I am so thankful that you did, because you weeded out the idiots that could have been peeling out of the driveway with me.
Let me add that she was allowed to date before she was 16, but that was all chaperoned. Either her mother or I would drive her. There was no unchaperoned dates until she was 16, and she hated that. That's what she complained about. Dad, it's so embarrassing. I said, I don't care. That's the rules. That's the way it is. What are you going to do? Run away and go live on your own? She was stuck, and she knew it.
But you also, being a guy, knew what guys were about.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I was 17 not many years before that when she was first starting to date, so we know. That's what dads do. You turned out to be a wonderful woman, and I'm glad that you're my daughter.
Thanks, Daddy.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Well, one more story.
No, I'm done.
All right, well, we got what we're going to get out of Dad.
Those were good enough.
For this episode, my birthday edition of
Don't Take Any Wooden Nickels. Thank you so much for joining me, Dad, and thank you for listening. I think he might have stretched the truth, though, on a couple things. I wasn't that much of a pain in the ass. But really, it's funny to touch back on what we were talking about with the dating rule that he very strictly enforced. At the time, I was so mad about it. And I remember there was one guy from a neighboring town that got up the courage to call me, because this was back before there was any kind of texting. And I think I was like 15 and a half. And he called me and asked if I would go to the movies with him or whatever it was. And I had to tell him no. And I was so sad about that. I remember just being so upset. But, you know, you got your whole life to date, so why do you have to rush into it? And now I have that opinion now when I look back. Of course, at the time when you're a kid, you don't think that they have your best interests at heart. You just think that they're being mean and not letting you do what you want to do. But he was protective. That helped shape me into who I am. Having boundaries, having a good relationship with my dad has really served me well through the years. And I hate that when my girlfriends, you know, I'll mention them again, say they don't have a relationship with their dad. And, you know, everybody's different, but it makes me sad because I'm such good friends with my dad that I want that for everybody. I'll even tell my girlfriends, well, you can borrow my dad. So, you know, he's known as Pops or Gina's dad to several of my girlfriends, and I will happily share him. So anyway, I wanted to share him with you on my birthday episode. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week, hopefully. Gosh, next Tuesday. is going to be Christmas Eve. Ooh, I will talk to you soon. It's Gina for Don't Take Any Wooden Nickels. If you can, give it a 5-star rating and subscribe. That would be super awesome. Thanks so much.
This is Grandma Marie. With the help of God, I'll see you next week. Take care and know that I love you. And what?
And that's it.